Yes, yes. What form do you have before being reborn? I think I was a crab. Oh, come on, I'm being serious. Actually, wouldn't want to harvest spirit liquid from a crab. Assuming you've spoke a lot about how squeamish she is. As far as I can remember, I lived above streets next to a sky. So, Birdman? Wings and feathers and such? No, not that. I do remember flying though. Oh, is you a sugar glider? Describe? To eat insects and sap and tree flower nectar? That is familiar. Wonder how I actually found you then. Could have been anything really. You mentioned bright lights earlier. Oof. Yeah, I'm thinking you got hit by a car. That seems likely. Is that bad? I mean, you're here now, so... whether or not you like it or not. Shut up. I'm still adjusting. That's the most weird segues ever. We got this one here. Gambling. Contract. Luck. Sleeping. Blood. Suplex. Extra time. Law. The terminal. The terminal. Death. Ashley. Maddie. Magic. That's a nice mix, actually. So what do we have? We have Beth 1, which requires magic and terminal. And I don't have any of that one, whichever that one is. Sadly, I can't do Beth 1. That's just automatic Fight Club. That has no collision physics on it, which is annoying. More Ash's Journal. I can do that one. What are you? Wasn't Poppy. I don't have any chase, I can't do that one. A Fisherman 3. I don't have any random personage. So the first thing I'm going to do is Ash's Journal. So I'm going to pay away with those, that and that. Unlock it. Row Battle Royale Robots Power Rankings. Alpha Charlie Echo. All the commentators call this robot Ace, probably because it's so good. Seems biased for them to call one particular robot Ace, but that's obviously how it's got its name and wins all the time. At first it looks like this bot doesn't have a weapon, just designed to be really fast and agile. When you realise its entire body is a weapon, farming its opponents unsuspecting people. It'd be a great tactic if you got into a fight when you didn't have a weapon. You don't need a flamethrower or a buzzsaw, you just have a 150kg body and ram people really fast. It probably wouldn't really work very well for me because I don't weigh 150 kilos and I'm pretty small. That isn't a problem when since I usually carry things that can be used as a weapon. I could carry a crowbar, and if someone tried to attack me I could just take with the out end and jam a crowbar under their feet and pull them up to use it to knock them off balance. Even though I'm probably smaller than most people. I'm not sure why it's named Alpha Charlie Echo. I'm sure it was remake or made of a style of a bot called Alpha Charlie. Aren't any other bots above that name? A team made it all rookies. Also, none of them are called Charlie. There's maybe someone after someone's dad or brother. Next robot will probably be called Beta Charlie Echo or Alpha V2 Charlie Echo or Final 2 Charlie Echo. Hey, programming jokes, I get some of them. Anyway, let's go do some Wandering Spirits. Ishan's footsteps echoed in a way that startled him. Were his footsteps always so loud? Perhaps it wasn't just a contrast with his surrounding environment, which seemed completely silent. It made his footfalls seem so jarringly loud as he walked like a catwalk. He was on a catwalk. Why was he on a catwalk? Seemed to be a gaping space below. Him filled with some sort of mist he couldn't see through. It was fog-like, and yet, despite the fog that lapped his feet, the air felt so dry. The air was thick here, and he breathed heavily. Kishan felt no air sweet, sickly odour like the smell of sweat or rotting wood. He could see around him were steel beams and a concrete path in front of him. Was it rust he was smelling? No, he knew the smell of rust. This was different. The smell was somewhat organic, like the smell of a forest after fresh rainfall. Kishan shivered. From a distance, he can see what looked like a building of some sort. So far away, it made the structure look like it was inside, almost tunnel-like. He continued walking forward. As he walked, the building seemed to be growing more and more distant. He quickened his pace as he walked faster. He felt himself moving through the thick, stifling air. As he looked down, he could see the texture of the catwalk in front of him changed. So he was walking in place. He started to turn backwards, but it was only blinding light. His eyes immediately shut. When he opened them, he was again facing into a tunnel, a distant view of a building. He tried turning around, but every time he tried to turn his head, his eyes... But until he shut, the sight of a light, he was forced to close his eyes and look away. Always confronted again with the sight of a small hut, which he opened his eyes. His heart pounded violently inside his chest. The tunnel was so quiet he could hear his own heartbeat, with his own pulse inside his head. Something about this place felt deeply, incredibly wrong. Get back. I have to get back. He tried turning again, this time finding himself unable to rotating his body, but his eyes snapped shut. Placing again in a world of darkness until he opened them again, confronted with the sight of a small hut in the distance. Now looking more far away than ever. Have to get back. Kishan kept facing the building and took a step backwards. As he placed his foot on the ground, he felt like a gust of wind knocking him forward. He let out a yelp in terror. Instinctively, his hand reached for the opposite edge of the catwalk as he fell, trying to steady himself. The catwalk was wide enough, his body didn't land close enough to the edge. That to have been a risk. Yet as he looked towards the edge, he felt a growing sense of dread that something down there would capture him, being able to catch it with someone's hold on him. As he fought it, he felt the sensation of something pressing against his legs. He stumbled to his feet. He ran forward. The hut ahead of him seemed to grow no closer as he ran, but he ran all the same, willing not to reach a destination, but to be away from whatever it was behind him. Moments ago, his only thought was an overwhelming desire to turn back, or he was somehow trapped in here. But now, that was a place with an overwhelming sense of dread that propelled him forward. He'd been pushed forward by something. Something was behind him. Kishan leaned forward and ran. He was no runner. Yavin found himself winded when forced to climb more than one flight of stairs. Yet he ran and he felt no sense. A tiredness holding him back, known to catch his breath. There was a thick air here, but somehow never allowed him to run out of breath. There was the fear of whatever was behind him was strong. Kishan felt the air stinging in his eyes as he ran, but now he was running so fast that the thick air felt like a hot wind in his face. Tears began running down his face, but he couldn't find it in to raise a hand. So he turned his eyes, fully aware that he was running down a catwalk. He had no handrail on either side. At this point, he didn't care. He ran and ran. Long after tears of his face had dried, Kishan realised he could hear only the sound of his own feet as they struck the catwalk. He couldn't even hear the rush of wind. There were no sounds of anyone or anything pursuing him. Perhaps there was no pursuers at all. He allowed himself to open his eyes and look down. He looked over his shoulder. This time, there was no blinding light, only a distant glow, the light at the end of a long tunnel. In a way, it was a light at the end of a long tunnel, and observing the dim glow of a distant light, Kishan suddenly realised just how far he had run. He turned around and saw a building right in front of him. It had windows that were covered in the same fog that covered the ground around him. Kishan reached for a door handle. He half expected it to be locked and felt a moment of panic. Was he ready to face what was on the other side? Did he want to enter? Did he have a choice? What was awaiting him? Answers? More questions? He looked down the tunnel, suddenly felt cold. Whatever his place was, it needed to escape it. The only form of egress seemed to be available was a door. He leaned on the handle and felt the door swing open. And up I go back to the top here. Is there anything else here? That is definitely a chafing. I don't have a personages. Done that one. A fisherman. Upstairs, which I can do. Maddie's inbox. I need Melbourne and North of that one apparently. Fisherman 2. I don't think I've got enough of that. No. Billiards. I need Melbourne for that as well. Delicate operation. I actually have all I need for a delicate operation. I don't think I've got enough for advisory roll, do I? No, because I need law for that. Let's do a delicate operation. Actually, can I save a game here? Saving, that's good. As she stepped behind the counter and winced, the floor creaked under her feet. Maddie was nowhere to be seen. Maddie did possess a remarkably sharp sense of hearing. Luckily, the cafe was empty. Ashley tiptoed to a case where Maddie kept her baked goods. Ashley lifted a case, closed her eyes, and sent yesterday's lamingtons were wafted up and overwhelmed her. Ashley spent most of her life convinced she didn't like coconuts. But change that day cheered in intrusive lamingtons. To be fair, Ashley still wasn't sure she actually liked coconut. Chocolate frosting could make everything taste good, but she couldn't deny the cake's irresistible allure. Ashley lifted a lamington from her case and gently slid the lid back down. She raised the lamington to her lips and opened her mouth to take a bite. Ashley? Moment of panic, Ashley shoved the pastry into her mouth and sealed her lips. Her mouth was quickly overwhelmed by the pastry's thick frosting, and she did her best to choke it down before turning to face Maddie. Said Ashley, hoping her cheeks didn't betray what was inside. Ah, good, you're here. Bad sign any time Maddie expressed pleasure at seeing Ashley. Normally Maddie was wavered between being annoyed at Ashley's presence and being indifferently tolerant of her. Any time Maddie was happy to see Ashley, it meant work. Need you to deliver something to Che for me. Turned to the counter to pick up a small bowl. As Maddie turned her attention to her bowl, Ashley took advantage of a momentary disruption to gulp down the remainder of her pastry. No time to chew, but her teeth wouldn't have done much good with her thick frosting. You're not busy, are you? Ashley shook her head. No. Pastry was no longer inside her mouth to create a conspicuous bulge of cheeks, but opening her mouth would reveal a thick chocolate frosting was still probably present on her teeth, so she kept her lip sealed. Good. It's upstairs. Get us to him ASAP. She handed a bottle to Ashley, and Ashley found herself surprised by how light it was. Looking down, she could see the bottle had thin walls. Within those thin walls, it contained some clear liquid. Its seal was held in place with a metal clamp, hermetically sealed. Ashley turned towards us there, holding the Necro bottle in one hand, and then had a sigh. One last thing. Ashley swallowed a sigh of a gulp, closed her mouth before facing Maddie, lips tightly shut. Be careful not to drop it. Thousands could die if you spell any of it. In any other situation, Ashley would have asked Maddie a probing question to figure out what was in the bottle, or get some idea of the significance of a task. Significant enough for thousands of lives held in a balance, but apparently not important enough for Maddie to do it itself. But Ashley's lips remained sealed. She merely nodded and turned around. Lamingtons were not meant to be consumed in a single bite, especially by mouths as small as Ashley's. The thickness of her frosting lingered in her mouth, and her throat made her desperate to ask for some kind of drink, but she dared not to ask for one. Ashley looked down at a bottle, unsure what the best way to carry it. The bottle was slightly too large for her to hold in just one hand, and grasping it in front of her with two hands felt awkward. The bottle wasn't heavy, but Ashley's confidence in her ability to carry a bottle without dropping it was less than perfect. She cradled it under her arm protectively. Now that seemed like it put her at greater risk of fumbling the bottle. The crook of her elbow was as dexterous as her fingertips. She set for carrying a bottle with one hand under and the other hand around her neck. Ashley walked slowly with the bottle as he descended the stairs. Maddie hadn't told her that liquid was volatile. The bottle was hermetically sealed, so there was zero chance of anything spilling out. But it didn't change the sense of trepidation Ashley felt. Armed with knowledge that there was potentially thousands of lives at stake, she grinned with every time she saw the liquid sloshing inside her bottle, leaving up and lapping at the edge of the seal. Ashley realised her arms were shaking and pressed the bottle against her chest, hoping to steady it. As Ashley's hand shook nervously with the bottle held against her chest, she wondered if a large amount of sugar she'd forced down her throat had something to do with the shaking. More than likely, a shaking was a result of being told that thousands of lives could be lost if she dropped the bottle. Still, the lingering taste of a pastry in her mouth didn't help. Ashley silently lamented the fact that she had been forced to consume the lamington so abruptly. They were a treat to be savoured, not shoved into one's mouth in a moment of panic. She hadn't had a chance to properly enjoy it. It was hard to simultaneously feel the pressure of a tasty treat and the panic of being caught. Whatever the outcome of this errand, she had wasted a wonderful pastry. Several agonising minutes later, Ashley arrived at the top of the stairs. Minutes? How long did it take her to climb the stairs? Spotted Che standing at his handrail. As she walked up, Che turned to face her, presented her with a bottle. As she cleared her throat of any lingering sickness before speaking. Maddie said you needed this. Ah, good. I was running low. Ashley gasped with relief as Che took the bottle from her, started taking deep, laboured breaths and slowly becoming aware of how high her heart rate was. Che popped over a receipt from a bottle and splashed some of it onto a rag. Several drops had dripped onto the floor and Ashley let out a terrified squeak. Something wrong? Said Che. Maddie said that thousands of lives could be destroyed by what's in that bottle. Well, that's the idea. As he folded a rag and ran it along a railing that overlooked the cafe's ground level. This is supposed to kill 99.9% of all bacteria. Oh, Maddie. See, there was hundreds of bacteria alive, but I tried not to think too hard about that point. Her jaw dropped. Is it disinfectant? Yeah. Why did Maddie not tell you? Ashley's shoulders slumped with a mixture of relief and exasperation. She only told me it could kill thousands. I didn't ask what she meant by that. No. I was preoccupied. He turned his attention back to the railing, inspecting for a moment before continuing to wipe it. Ashley turned to head back stairs. By the way, Ashley. He reached out and placed a finger on his shirt, wiping up a bit of frosting. He raised it to his finger and smelled it. Chocolate? Yes. One of Maddie's Lamingtons? Yes. Che nodded and licked frosting off his finger. Go downstairs and bring one up for me too, you will ya? Yeah, I think Maddie got her own back there. And with that, I think that's probably going to be the end of the episode today. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Have a wonderful day, and bye-bye.